Hello, people. I hope you are good because I'm always good. I'm continuing with manual testing, and on the previous tutorial, we covered login and decision tables, right? So today I'll be doing a registration form or an input form, and I'll be using equivalence partitioning to derive a test case. Okay, so you can always forward this video because I'm going to start with my test case design, and I'm going to add the structure of what's basically important. I've also mentioned in the previous tutorial that you do not just create test cases from your own discretion, okay, but you kind of like you have guidelines, you have specification requirements, business requirements that actually show you what has to be in your test case, okay. And the design also differs from project to project. You can have an in-house system that you use to create your test cases. You don't necessarily use Excel, but you use different applications. So here I'm just outlining the design for a simple test case, okay, and how you can manage it and how you can keep it, okay, so that there is no confusion. Simplicity is key also when you're designing test cases because you don't want your data everywhere. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly create my table. You can always forward this video to the technique that I'm going to use, but I'm just gonna quickly create my design and what I need in my test case. Okay, so here I'm going to add a prerequisite. Okay, I'm just going to do a column here for prerequisite, which is my precondition. Okay, I've mentioned in the previous tutorial that it is what we need before we can get started with testing, okay, and that is access to the system, the rights that you have. And sometimes you don't use a live system to perform your testing, but they give you a test URL, a test environment where you are able to execute this tests. Okay, so that is what you need as well. Your developers will tell you if the test environment is ready for you to start testing. They prepare it for you with items that are configured, or rather processes that are already configured, that they think they work or whatever. So once you have your prerequisite, you can just go into it and start documenting your tests. All right, so test scenario I've mentioned in the previous tutorial is your one-liners. They're specific to the functionality. Example, a user should be able to log in the system or verify that a user can log in the system, verify that a user can register online, verify that a user can pay online using the payment portal, whatever, verify that a user can add delivery to the shopping cart, or an already purchased order. It's just simple. Your test scenario is simple. It shouldn't be a whole paragraph. It shouldn't be a whole lot of things. It should be specific. And that's where you come in and you break it down, and you add your test cases, you add your inputs, your outputs, your expected result, actual result, you add the steps that are taken. That is when you expand your test scenario. Okay, so okay, let me just input my data quick. Just gonna have my project name there, your test scenario, and also you need to understand that the way you name things is very important. Usually you don't name things, you just take what's in the requirements document and you extend it here, okay. Naming is very important when you have to come back and recheck something and see how something was tested previously. It's very important that you don't just name things, but you refer to, you kind of like extend what's given to you in the business requirements, okay. So I'm just gonna say Tanzanite sign up process there. My test suit, maybe Tanzanite client sign up 01. It has to link to the scenario, link to the project, link to, that's how you name all that, okay? And the priority, you don't, as a tester, you don't determine what's a priority, what's not a business. Your client, the client determines what's a priority, right? So you don't just say low, I mean, really. So you're gonna have your pass, overall pass fail there for coverage. Then you're gonna have, who created this, who reviewed this test. You can also add the review date, okay? Because sometimes after you test, not necessarily that the reviewer will review immediately after your test. All right, so we can add the review date so we can track all the changes that happened. So you have your prerequisite here. And let me just add, I need my access, I need to get me right, I need my test environment to be ready. Sometimes the developers will provide you with the test data of items that are configured for testing or platforms that are ready, and they just give you what you have to test. All right, so yeah, so there's basically that. So okay, I'm just gonna leave my post condition. I'll just add it after the entire execution. All right. Okay, to scenario, I'm verifying that a Tanzanite user can register and submit form details. Okay, so I could have, business can have a criteria or a group of certain users. These ones are on platinum, these ones are on gold, these ones are on bronze. Okay, like that. So this is just a type level of users, Tanzanite users. So I just want to verify that they're able to kind of like log in on a maybe different platform compared to what other users have, you see. So that is that. Test case ID. I have to make sure that I rename this correctly, okay, to give reference to what I'm testing, okay. So my test description, verify ID field accepts numeric values. Okay, so my key here is numeric. It doesn't have to take strings, doesn't have to take alphanumeric and special characters. No, they want it to take numeric values. Okay, so this is where now I apply my equivalence partitioning. And in equivalence partitioning, we have different data types. Okay, we have the data type, we have the data size, we have the data range. Okay, and the type simply means your alphabet, your strings, numeric, integers, alphanumeric, string, integer, alphanumeric, and special characters, your add symbols, your dollar signs, your whatever, those special characters. Okay, so this is where now I have to kind of like come back to my types and say, okay, am I verifying the type size, both of them, or the range? Okay, so when it comes to ID, obviously you want the size to be not more than 13 if it's a South African ID, and you want the type to be alphabet. No, for ID, so you want it to be numeric, right? You want it to be numeric with the size of 13 digits. So obviously your range is your 1 to 3 years. We do not allow less than 18s to come here. Range is 18 to 35. So that's basically it, right? So what you do is that you create your partitions according to what you're testing. If it's my type, I know I'm going to have 4 classes, which is 4 partitions. Okay, so I'm just gonna enter the step. I'm gonna say enter ID, will enter valid ID number. Okay, so I'm going to create my partition. When you have this partition, it's obviously going to tell you how many tests you have to execute, and for each partition you only have to test once. Okay, so I'll just show you that. Let me just add this. Let me just okay, at the horizontal line here. Okay, and on the first position, I'm just gonna enter, okay, let me just say Cassie. That's an alphabet, right? Then I'm gonna enter numeric value. Then I'm gonna enter alphanumeric. All right, let me just format the cell to remove the decimal places. I'm gonna add alphanumeric, and I'm gonna add alphanumeric and special characters. Okay, which can be KC1, and then the other characters KC1, 2, 3, and the other special characters. So you already see that we only have one valid, right, which is the numeric. So you're gonna have 4 test cases. All right. And you can also use this to test your tab form. You can also test the username. All right. So the first partition is obviously going to be valid because it's an alphabet. That's what we want for the user. We don't want a user entering numeric values for the username. We don't want them inputting alphanumeric and special characters for the username. We want a valid name, okay, as per your ID or I don't know, okay. So that's basically how you test. Okay, so this limits the number of test cases that are not necessary. But if you stick to these techniques, you already know what to cover. Okay, so I'm just gonna add my test data. I'm just gonna add my ID, and your expected result can be what should happen after I enter the ID on the text input. So it can be that, you know, there's a tick, okay, there's a verification tick that appears just next to the text box, or it could be that the text color, the text box color changes. For red meaning that something is wrong, green meaning that we accept this value. Okay, so that's your verification tick. What happens, you know, after as expected? So it could be that this one passed and we have that D. Okay, so just add my, just align this. Okay, all right, so I'm just gonna add the second one, Tanzanite register 2, and I'm going to, okay, let me just match this. I'm going to verify phone number accepts 10-digit numeric values. Okay, 10-digit numeric values. So I have the size, which is 10 digits, and I also have the numeric values. Okay, and I also have the numeric values, which is the type. It does not want alphabet, it wants numeric. It does not want above 10, less than 10, it wants 10. It's only valid for a cell phone number if it has 10 digits. Okay, so that's what we're testing. 2 things here. All right, so you go back, you can just erase that or copy, go back to your table, and okay, let me just clear this. Let me just remove this. Just see. So I'm working with size. Just gonna work with size. Okay, 10 digits. ID 13. Just okay. So here I'm gonna have 10, and here I'm going to, let me just say size. Then I'm gonna have -9, which is below 9, and I'm going to have above 10, which is 11 plus. Okay. So that's my partitions. And here the first one is invalid. If I enter 9 digits instead of 10 for a cell phone number, it's gonna throw an error. If I enter 11 plus, it's going to give me an error. If I enter 10 digits, it's going to allow that. Okay, so you only test once per partition. You don't have to, it's only once per partition. You don't have to enter 7 digits and see, okay, what is it gonna do? 6 digit, okay, well, no, there is exhaustive testing. You are trying to test all possible combinations of that, and it's very wrong. So you just have to test once per partition, because we are assuming that the output is going to be the same, the behavior is going to be the same. Okay, so you don't need to test all different types of combinations and inputs. So I'm just gonna put in my cell phone number there, and expected is the same as the previous one. Verification tick should appear. Okay, so there's something called experience-based testing techniques. All right, I'm not gonna cover those, or error guessing. If you have experience with testing, you're able to know without creating your EP, your partitions and all. You already know which boundaries you should cover. And I also forgot something. This equivalence partition, it's what we covered. This boundary value analysis it's an extension of your equivalence partitioning. Okay, you just within partitions for BVA, you just find your minimum and your maximum for each partition. Okay, that's how you test BVA. I'm not gonna cover it on the next tutorial. So my post condition, I can't have a post condition. Let me just add the submit button so I can have my post condition. So I'm just gonna copy all that, and I'm gonna say submit form. Just gonna say submit form and click submit button, which is just the one step that I'm gonna have, and click submit button. My expected dashboard should appear. All right, so yeah, you basically take your expected from your requirement specifically. You don't just come with your own words. Okay, it has to be understandable for business. So I'm just gonna say the client is registered in the database. All right, so this is all for me. So this is a guide as to how to test systems. Okay, and if you use this techniques, it's going to be so much easier for you to find defects, and yeah, your coverage is going to be, yeah, you're gonna do a meaningful test. Okay, it's not just testing and wasting time, but you're testing and actually doing it right. That's what's important. Okay, so this is all from me. Please don't forget to subscribe and like my tutorials. On the next tutorial, I might go and cover state transition. Okay, there are a lot of people who are going to write ISTQB, and a few of them asked me to cover this. So if you know chapter 4, which is what I'm doing right now, ISTQB, then you have pause. Okay, techniques are very important when you're doing your ISTQB foundation, and you have to make sure that you understand the logic and the concept of how they work, and you can, if you understand how they work, you can apply them with everything that you're doing. All right, so stay safe, stay COVID free. Cheerio.